New reporting this week reveals that a federal grand jury has subpoenaed former top White House officials in the January 6th investigation. Former Attorney General Bill Barr sat down with us to discuss the DOJ's probe into former President Trump and his associates. We also talked about the proposed prisoner swap with Russia. As a former Attorney General, what are your thoughts on the possible swap of convicted arms dealer Victor Bout for Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan?
Well, the department's always, at least when I was in the government, we're always consulted on that, and we're usually the stick in the mud. We're reticent about exchanges, but I agreed to quite a few of them, but I am concerned generally about encouraging this kind of behavior in the future. That is, the seizing of Americans in order to extort concessions from the United States. So this does sort of set the stage for that. So I'm worried about doing it too much.
On January 6th, do the new grand jury subpoenas suggest that the Justice Department investigation is squarely focused on former President Trump?
Well, I think it definitely is a significant event. Changes my view of what's been going on. From my standpoint, it looked to me like the department is really focusing on the lower level people. As you know, since the election, they've been going after the people who went into the Capitol. And I didn't think they were paying that much attention to the higher ups, and they were sort of leaving it to the congressional committee. But this suggests to me that they're taking a hard look at the group at the top, including the president and the people immediately around him who are involved in this. And it also looks to me like they're going to try to get a ruling on the issue of executive privilege.
Did it get your attention when a subpoena was issued for former White House counsel Pat Cipollone?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most significant because he has the strongest claim to executive privilege as the counsel to the office of the president. And so that's sort of the biggest mountain for them to climb. And the fact that they lead off with that, to me, suggests that they want a definitive resolution, not only on Cipollone, but, this would affect Meadows and some of the other people, too.
Given the testimony from the January 6th committee and your experience as President Trump's Attorney General, did his actions cross the line into criminal behavior?
Well, I've said for a while that I thought his behavior was shameful on January 6th, and just on its merits, people should understand it was very bad behavior. But whether it crossed the line to criminal behavior from the Department of Justice's standpoint is always, can we prove criminal behaviors? People, in this case, it'll really depend on his state of mind.
Do you think that evidence is building and that the outreach to former senior officials in the White House is part of that investigation?
Yeah, I think definitely the evidence has been building, but after the last set of hearings, I said, personally, if this is what there is, as Attorney General, I still don't see that as a sufficient basis to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime was committed by the president. But I'm sure what they're doing is getting deeper and deeper into it. So I think what Merrick Garland is trying to do here is to say, look, I am looking hard at this, and if we find a crime, we will prosecute it.
So in this case, when does the window close for bringing charges against a possible president and his aides before the midterms? Or does it not apply at all because he's not on the ballot?
Well, I'm not sure it really, it sort of grew up from the context of going after the candidate themselves, right? And the idea that it would apply to a midterm election where somebody is not a candidate and where the public is well aware of all the facts that have come out and that the matter's under investigation, I'm not sure it would prevent it happening from before the midterms.
After your resignation, if then President Trump had appointed Jeffrey Clark, whose portfolio at the Justice Department was Environment and Natural Resources, to be acting Attorney General, you would have thought what?
That it was outrageous, and I had every confidence that if something like that happened, all the top political leadership would have resigned. There's no doubt in my mind. I knew Jeff Rosen, Rich Donahue, and Steve Engel and all those folks, and they wouldn't have tolerated it. It would have been a debacle, and they gave the president good advice, which is to back off this cockamamie idea.
What is the future of the Republican Party?
Well, I think the future is bright for the Republican Party. I view 2024 as setting up another 1980, when Reagan won 2 terms and then Bush won a 3rd term. And that's what I think you really need to make America great again. Decisive victory in a reaction to the excesses of the progressive Democrats. And I think we could do that again and really achieve a decisive victory with the right candidate. But I don't think Trump is that candidate. The day he's elected, he'll be a 78-year-old lame duck who is obviously bent on revenge more than anything else.
Senate Republican Chuck Grassley recently came forward and confirmed that several FBI whistleblowers had come to him, alleging that there had been an effort within the Bureau to downplay or discredit negative information about Hunter Biden. What's your assessment of the situation now? Is it time for a special counsel?
Yes. So I said publicly that I think probably it's time for Merrick Garland to give the current U.S. attorney in Delaware the protections of the special and the authority of a special counsel under the department's regulations. I think Merrick Garland did the right thing when he came in and left the Republican U.S. attorney in Delaware in office to continue the investigation. But there are other components of justice involved in the criminal division that are not under the direct authority of that U.S. attorney. And now we have questions about, we have whistleblowers coming forward, multiple ones apparently, that raise questions about some of the FBI's role in that case. So I think to provide additional assurance and to deal with the appearance of a potential conflict between the administration and the investigation of the president's son, that his time has come to do that. I think there has to be some assurance this thing is going to be pursued, as he likes to say, without fear or favor.